A really warm welcome to our panel, Isabella Lövin, Swedish MEP from the Greens, Fidias Panayotou, Cypriot Independent MEP, and MEP Sigrid Friis with Renew Europe from Denmark. Welcome to Strasbourg. So lovely to have you with us here on the show. But before we get your first impressions, let's just tell our viewers why this week Strasbourg was different.
It feels like the first day of school. Around 720 MEPs descended upon Strasbourg this week to begin or continue their journey as European lawmakers. From climate change to AI regulation, those MEPs will have to negotiate and vote laws and hold officials in the European Commission to account. Racing between Brussels and Strasbourg, not to mention their constituency back home, MEPs can work as much or as little as they want. The harder they slog, the bigger footprint they might leave on the EU statute book. But there's plenty on their plates. An ongoing war in Ukraine, political instability in France, and a controversial and unpredictable Hungarian presidency in charge of the Council for the next 6 months.
So there you have it. There'll be a lot to be done. But first, congratulations on your election. Looking forward to seeing you here in the next couple of years. You're back, though. You've been a minister in Sweden. You've been a journalist, an author. What brought you back?
Well, I want to make a difference, and you actually can make a difference here in the European Parliament. That's really something that is very important to highlight, because I think many of the voters around Europe think that, it's impossible to make any difference, but I have the experience from last time I was here that we could do a lot of difference when it came to the fisheries policy, for instance. And
to make a difference, of course, you need friends. You need a network. So have you made a lot of new friends this week, Sigrid?
Yes, I did. And I really enjoyed to meet some of the new colleagues that I'll be working alongside with for the next 5 years. I agree with the intro that it's a bit like the first day of school. You're trying to find your way around, find which seat is yours and who will be your neighbors, who will you be sitting next to. And only, I think, for my first day of school back in Denmark, there was not as many journalists and not as many lobbyists as here in Strasbourg.
That's true. It is an interesting place to be. And Fidias, congratulations as well to you. You're famous.
I'm delighted to be here with 3 beautiful women. It's exciting politics with more women. Power.
Well, you're fascinating in the sense that you are a YouTuber. And you're well known. Everyone knows you now in the corridors of Strasbourg and Brussels. You've been putting clips out, viral clips. Even you hitchhiked your way here.
Yes, but I don't know anything about politics. This was the claim in Cyprus. And it's very interesting because I was the most voted person in Cyprus. And I told them, guys, I don't know, but I will improve and I will learn. But because I had a YouTube background, I was successful in my business and all this stuff, they trusted me and they appreciate kind of the honesty more than the positions and the experience. So here we are, and it's very exciting.
Here you are. Well, congratulations. And maybe you can give some tips to others here trying to communicate the European Union.
Yes, I think European Union has a big problem with the communication. I think it's a big black box. As Europeans, we don't feel Europeans. I feel more Cypriot than European. And I don't know what is happening here in the Parliament.
It's complicated. It's complicated. And we're explaining it week by week as well here on Brussels, My Love. But we can actually just take a look at some of the content you've been putting out since becoming an MEP.
I'm only 24 years old and I just got elected in the European Parliament. I have no political experience in the past and I'm sure I would make mistakes along the way. The best way to not make any mistakes is by not trying at all. And perhaps sometimes I will vote for the wrong things, or I might say the wrong things. And maybe sometimes I will take the wrong decision. But I want you to know that my intentions will always be to make this world a better place.
There you go. Maybe you have some tips for Fidias.
Yes, I would love some tips.
Well, I think you mentioned one. Networking is extremely important because you can't make any difference here at all if you don't have a majority behind you. But of course, I think it's also very important to communicate with the voters, with journalists, and be kind of the link.
But to the extent that, Fidias, you've actually been asking your followers online how you should vote.
Yes. I will take a second. I ask them, guys, should I vote for Ursula von der Leyen, yes or no? And 250,000 people voted in the poll, and the majority, 75%, voted that they don't want Ursula von der Leyen. So I find it a bit strange that the actual European people don't want Ursula von der Leyen, but we might give her the majority.
And you trust your followers?
Yeah, it's interesting.
What would you say to that, Sigrid?
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting way of doing democracy in a new way, but I also feel that there must be some kind of core values or principle inside of you that would make it hard if your followers had a completely different opinion than you. If you had maybe a human rights vote on whether it should be improving rights of minority people, for example, I would want to vote yes, no matter what my Instagram followers or YouTubers, for that sake, would want to. So I think that there are some core, at least for me, some core principles that I wouldn't want to change, and I think
because it's been 5 years that she's been in the presidency, so we know kind of her past. So I think that people are clever enough to judge, and we need to, as politicians, we need to a lot of the times give the will of the people, not only our personal opinions. So I think it's a mix of. So I agree with you basically.
Yeah.
And Fides, the question of which group to join, you also asked your followers, and they told you not to join any group.
Yes. They told me not to join. The Cyprus people don't want me to join any group because I was elected. I was the first independent ever in my country. I was the most voted person in my country. And they wanted me to come here and not join any political group. And this is good because if you join a political group, they might filter you slightly. So I want to be 100% honest and say the truth to the people.
Even though you can probably argue that being in a group, it's easier, you get more done, you have more visibility.
A lot more done. I mean, we're legislators here, so we're trying to find the best way forward on the issues where we really feel that this is important, like climate change, by bringing back the health and life to our ocean, or preserving the rule of law and democracy and all of that. And to do that, you have to be present on all the meetings, you have to have positions, you have to have collaboration with all the other groups in order to have a majority. So that's
and you can go against your group sometimes. You don't
words.
always have to get whipped into place by your group.
Yeah.
But Sigrid, again, it's your first time here as well in the European Parliament. What do you want to get done? What will be your focus?
So my number one priority is fighting climate change to ensure a greener and more sustainable future for Europe and for the next generation of Europeans as well. So I have on my wish list, I have to stop the import of Russian gas and oil into the European energy system. I really want to work on reforming the CAP, the agricultural sector, to get them to contribute more and to restore the balance in the nature, the biodiversity in Denmark. Where
Are you sure you're in the right group then? Because you could be up for some clashes with many in your group who are very pro-business. They want to see a pause on regulation when it comes to climate.
No, I think it's very important to say that fighting climate change can easily go hand in hand with ensuring competitiveness as well. I think if we don't fight climate change, European businesses will be looking into a not so bright future. So I think it's also important in terms of ensuring Europe's growth and economy in the world.
And I'm sure as a Green and a former climate minister, you would agree with that. But let's just show our viewers out there what the actual new European Parliament looks like. Because, of course, we know who won these elections. It was the European People's Party. They came up there with 188 seats, followed by the Socialists with 136 seats. And then the new group, Patriots for Europe, the group set up by Viktor Orban of Hungary. They got 84 seats, followed by the Conservatives and Reformists. The party of Giorgia Meloni came in fourth there with 78 seats. The Liberals then fifth with 77 seats. And then, of course, the Greens, a bit low down there in the bottom. You lost a lot of seats. You didn't do so well this time round.
No, especially not in France and Germany, but we did very well in Sweden and also the Nordic countries. So there was the biggest
That tells a lot as well, doesn't it? It just shows that your countries are fixed and the economy works there.
Yeah,
so.
and also we see more diversification in the Green Group now. It's not only like the Central European countries, but also the Eastern European countries, many of them, and also Italy for the first time. So we see the Green movement kind of growing in many ways. And I think we also have very, very experienced MEPs. So
Were you a former commissioner for the environment?
We have a former commissioner. We have several former ministers as well, especially from the Nordic countries. The Dutch Greens went very well as well. So it's a mixed picture.
It's a mixed bag.
I think what we also managed to do now is to have a lot of influence now when the president is elected and whatever program is going to come after this.
And Fidias, what would be your priority here when it comes to substance and committees? Did you have time this week to decide on which committee you'd like to be in?
Yes. By the way, I want to say that their parties, Renew and the Greens, I was between those, which are so they're the cooler parties, I think. Here
the cooler parties that actually didn't do well though in the elections. So according to the voters out there,
yes. But yes, it's a bit hard that when you are an independent, because I need to fight a lot to get the stuff. But when you are in a group, it's easier to get the committees that.
So why don't you join a group? You can still join.
I achieved to get the committees I wanted without being also in a group. So I got I forgot the surnames of the committee. I think it's
the acronyms. Welcome to Brussels, Strasbourg. You're going to have a lot of acronyms in your life.
So, but okay. You're going to go to my social media and you're going to see the acronyms as well to find them. But yes, I were trying to get culture and we want to do PEDI as well. So cult and PEDI. Yes. So, and the other thing that with PEDI is interesting because I'm a YouTuber and I have millions of subscribers. So maybe PEDI you can request stuff from European Union. So I can promote stuff to the public so they can request stuff and we can hear the will of the people and change things here together with the people.
And as an MEP, of course, you can invite people, you can bring people from your constituency as well to the institutions to show them as well exactly what goes on here. And just on these two new groups, the Patriots for Europe and the Sovereignists, how do you think things could change inside the Parliament with so many voices now on the right?
I don't know what it used to be, but for me as a newcomer, I was actually quite surprised to see how tense it was when we were in the hemicycle this morning, for example, how there were accusations from the far right towards the left, like the room was, I would say, kind of hostile. And I think for me, at least, it's not something that I'm used to seeing in a room of politicians. I'm used to saying that there can be different opinions. We don't have to agree. Actually, the whole point of politics is that we don't agree. We have different views on the world. But the feeling inside the hemicycle, when things got really heated, I was kind of surprised.
You were surprised?
Yeah.
I guess we're going to see more of that, though, Isabella.
Yeah, I'm afraid so. I really expect that. But on the other hand, we have a majority for kind of pushing forward with the Green Deal, for instance, for environmental policies and all that we need to do, as you mentioned. It's absolutely vital that we don't backtrack on the climate policies now during these 5 years. This is really a crucial time to move forward. Also on oceans, also on rule of law. We don't know what happens in the elections in the US now later in this year. So the EU will be very, very important. And I think we have the centre that will
The centre has held.
Yeah.
The centre has held. And for now, the Patriots for Europe, the group of Viktor Orban, is being a little bit left out. For example, when it comes to getting the vice presidency here, they weren't too happy about that, about being left out of business. And we can actually hear from a member of the Patriots for Europe now, an Italian MEP. Take a listen.
Se il gruppo dei Patriotti è il terzo gruppo per dimensioni all'interno.
If the Patriots Group is the third largest group in the European Parliament, it's not because we decided so, but the voters did. So to go against the will of Europeans and the will that was democratically expressed by millions of European voters, I think it represents a huge assumption of responsibility as well as a lack of respect. Then politically, it amazes me that the EPP continues to lend itself to these games of the left-wing groups. All these attitudes on the part of the electorate have led to a growth of groups calling for an alternative Europe. So not listening to their voice, slapping in the face to the people who voted for us, I think it represents something very, very dangerous.
Penso che rappresenti un qualcosa di molto, molto pericoloso.
The Italian MEP there, Paolo Borchia, not impressed that his group is being left out in the cold, but in the reality is that his group is referred to by many here as the Friends of Putin. Fidias, would you have an opinion on this?
I voted on the issue about Ukraine, and I abstained from the vote from the paper that they gave us. I found the paper to be not. They want to keep continuing, and I want more peace talks. So that's why I abstain.
So would you agree with the fact that Viktor Orban, who holds now the rotating presidency of the Council, that he went to Moscow to speak to Putin?
Well, that's a very complicated topic, especially for me as a newbie here in politics, as I said. But I made some podcasts that they're 3 hours long. You can go and see them and hear my opinion. It's so complicated topic, and that's why.
Well, it's complicated, but it's also very serious. I mean, it's a very tense moment right now in the European Union. We even saw the Commission boycotting the rotating presidency because they believe that they can't visit. Normally, for example, the whole Commission would visit Budapest and, business as usual it should be. But after this peace mission, there's a lot of mistrust now.
Yeah, I mean, clearly Orban has abused the European presidency by going to Moscow, going to China and kind of presenting himself as representing the European Union in a way and saying that he wants to push forward in certain foreign policies that is not agreed by the other member states. So I think that's very, very serious. And we are questioning if Hungary in this way can continue to be the presidency of the European Union.
And normally, of course, the Prime Minister, the President of the country holding the rotating presidency comes and gives a speech in the Parliament. So it remains to be seen whether that speech will take place in September. But we just wanted to bring in some voices from Hungary, of course, that holds the rotating EU presidency at the moment, and hear if people there even knew the Parliament session was taking place in Strasbourg this week and if they even care. So our correspondent Zoltan Szibushegi sent us this update.
We talked a lot of pedestrians, but we met just with 3 opinions. Or they don't know anything about the European politics, or they don't want to talk about the politics because they are not brave enough, or they totally believe for Viktor Orban, the Prime Minister, and they believe that Brussels is the enemy, what they need to stop.
Zoltan Szibushegi there reporting, saying that Brussels and Strasbourg is the enemy. I mean, this is the kind of perception that many people have, Sigrid.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of worrying. But I think we also saw in Hungary the rise of new parties, opposition party challenging the views of Viktor Orban. And I think it's important to underline that he does not represent the whole of Hungary. And there's also a part of the Hungarian population that wants a different way. And we have to really stand firm on that.
And you were nodding along there as well.
Yeah, I mean, but it's also a classical way of trying to get support is to kind of look at someone else outside being the enemy. So look at the whole Brexit discussion. Yeah. Now the UK has left the European Union, but nothing of what the Brexiters were promising the British people has been realized. They don't have these millions of pounds to go to the National Health Service or whatever, or they don't have their own fishing waters the way that it was portrayed. So I think this is something that is classical, that you use someone else as the scapegoat, and the European Union in many countries is used as that by some parties.
And they urgently need growth in the UK.
They do, and they wouldn't be better. I mean, if you look at the UK and you look at the Hungary, it's not like Hungary would be better off without the European Union. I think that Hungary and the Hungarian people is benefiting a lot from being part of the European Union and being part of this common future that we share.
Welcome back to Brussels, my love. I'm Maeve McMahon, broadcasting from Strasbourg, where MEPs met for the first session of this mandate. And although this week was all about getting MEPs registered, kitted out with their office keys and signing up to committees, the reality is there's a lot of unfinished business they will have to pick up in September. According to Parliament data, there's 174 legislative procedure files left over from the previous mandate. For more on what exactly is at stake, we spoke to an EU policy specialist, Andrea Renda from SEPS.
There's a lot of legislation that is still pending good implementation and enforcement. They need to do this in the green and in the digital domains. Second, they need to express full support for Ukraine immediately. Third thing is understanding and giving a new configuration to the Green Deal. Final thing that I would say is the defense side. For the first time, the EU has the imperative of trying to do without the US, or to be more on its own feet when it comes to defense and security. And how to interpret this and with what kind of money? Where does the money come from? Where does it go? How to coordinate the action of the member states?
So Andrea Renda there speaking to us earlier this week in Brussels, focusing on that point that there is a lot of legislation that still needs to be done, but also a lot of legislation that needs to be implemented, because that's, of course, the key. But that's the hard part, right?
Yeah. Well, when it comes to the Green Deal, we already have a lot of implementation. In my country, for instance, Sweden, we have the industry that is already, you know, going for total transformation from fossil fuels to renewables.
How did you get them on board?
Sorry?
How did you get them on board?
Well, I think in that case, you know, boring regulations, you have to start with that, and that gives them a level playing field. They know, they have certainty, they know what is going to be expected. So first the Swedish climate law, and then we have the EU law, the climate law, and emission trading systems, which means that you have to pay for your emissions, basically. So that makes it more profitable for them to do the transition, to invest in new technology instead of paying for the emissions here at the EU level. So we have steel without coal, the kind of old-fashioned coal-burned furnaces for steel production. That is, it's on its way out now in Sweden, and that is one thing that I think here at the European level we need to show these good examples, that it's possible to do this, it's possible to implement.
And Fidias, what about your followers? What do they want you to get done here? Is there any topic that's burning inside them that they want you to address?
My followers, first of all, I think they want to understand European Union, and I'm just starting. So imagine now I get millions of views, and I just started. So imagine in 5 years how popular I will be, or how unpopular I will be if I make a lot of mistakes. But in my campaign in Cyprus, I didn't touch in a lot of topics. I touched in one topic that I know, and it's education. Education is one of the most important things to have a successful economy and a successful country. And I think schools generally in Europe, maybe exceptions with some countries, they kill creativity instead of so for example, when I was at school, the teachers made me hate history, and history now I find it the coolest subject in the world. So I think it does the opposite that it should do. So I think I want to improve this, and that's why I chose the Committee of Culture.
Excellent. And what about you? You said you'll be in the Envy Committee?
ITRA for my full membership, and then a substitute in Envy.
But just bring us inside your meeting, so the Renew Europe group. Like, what's the tone inside there when it comes to the Green Deal, getting it done?
Well, as you said, that there are different opinions. I think a lot of us knows that fighting climate change is absolutely crucial to ensuring the future of Europe in terms of the citizens of Europe, in terms of the nature and protecting the environment in Europe, and also in terms of protecting the European economy, ensuring the growth in the future. Because
do some in your group not want to roll back the phase out of combustion engines?
Sorry?
From 35, the Commission had already decided to phase out the sale of dirty diesel and petrol cars, but some want to bring it back.
Oh, then I think you will have to ask them about this. I'm not sure which party you are referring to or which country in that sense, but I think it's better to bring them in this chair and
we will, like the
have them
FCB,
answer. But I think for me, I mean, I come from a background in Denmark where I work professionally with the energy system of Denmark, with our district heating, with how we can free Denmark from still importing Russian gas into our systems, how we can ensure that we are creating enough of our own sustainable and also affordable energy to ensure that we can all be reassured that our money, whenever we pay our heating bill at the end of the month or our electricity bill at the end of the month, that we are not supporting the Russian economy whenever we are heating up our houses or we are charging our electronic devices. I think it's something that's really, really impactful, maybe even more impactful than we know. So energy policies, it's not just, it's about ensuring the climate policies, but it's also a matter of security and defense. And I don't think that we are talking enough about this.
You know, and I know a lot of people want to be the energy commissioner, right? That's another topic we'll be having very soon here.
Yes,
who
do you
gets
have to
what?
talk to be the energy commissioner?
I agree. I mean, I think that's a very important point you made there, that, you know, climate policy and the Green Deal is not something apart from security policy today. It's about being independent from energy imports from both from Russia but also the Middle East and less democratic countries, to be honest. And it's about food security. It's about also health, because if you have a climate crisis, which we already are starting to have. That's going to impact people, and it's going to impact people also outside of Europe, and we'll have more immigration due to the unlivable conditions in many parts of this planet. So it's about security. So we have to make that kind of narrative or story clear to people that this is not something luxurious, something that you can do if you like a choice you can do. We need to do it for our own safety.
But it'll be tricky with the Greens now, having lost a lot of seats, losing a lot of staff, losing a lot of leverage in this House.
Yes, but we have a very strategic position now in the Parliament. I mean, we're needed for the centre parties to actually achieve something. So I think we have to be smart and use our knowledge and our experience in the best way possible.
So you were convinced by Ursula von der Leyen. Have you had the chance to meet Ursula von der Leyen yet?
Not yet. I'm not sure if she would like that I'm making videos that people are voting against.
You could hug her.
I could hug her. But I want to come back to, in the beginning we said that it's a bit strange how polarized the parliament is inside. Yeah. And I think we need a bit more love. We can fight without emotions about ideas, and to not be so angry and all this stuff. So this is one thing that we need more love here in the parliament.
We need more love and less hate. Welcome back to Brussels, my love. I'm Maeve McMahon, and I'm joined here in Strasbourg by Sigrid Fries, Isabella Lövin and Fidias Panayiotou, who attended the first ever Strasbourg session of their 5-year mandate. And the big task of the week here, of course, was to elect the President of the European Commission and the President of the European Parliament. And as expected, the Maltese centre-right MEP, Roberta Metsola, got the green light for 2.5 more years as President. 562 MEPs voted in favour. Did you back her?
Yes, we did. Yeah.
Yes, did you?
I abstained from the vote because I didn't think both of the candidates were good enough.
And what about you?
I supported Metsola.
And why do you think she's the right woman for the job?
Well, so I think, first of all, I think she's played an important democratic role in her previous terms to be a strong voice from the European Parliament. And I also had the opportunity to meet her when she was in Denmark before the elections. I liked her views on involving more youth in politics. Her campaign for election rights for 16 years old is also something I enjoy. So I liked her democratic views. I don't agree with her on policies, of course, because she's more conservative and I'm more progressive. So on policy issues we have lots of difference, but I think that her democratic approach as to how to be in the role of President of the Parliament, I can support that.
And trying to get the youth vote, she even went on TikTok as a means to try and reach out and make these institutions a little bit more comprehensible. But to find out more on what she actually hopes to achieve, I actually had the opportunity to speak to her. So take a listen now to the European Parliament President, Roberta Metsola.
I put myself yesterday for re-election in a very difficult time, after a very difficult mandate, which has taught us to be prepared for anything, because the world is so unpredictable and unstable. But I think what I wanted to project is one of hope. Now it's up to us to deliver. In 5 years' time, we will need to look back and say, have we delivered on their concerns on housing, on agriculture, on industry, on competitiveness, on migration, on justice, on security? If there's something that we've seen so far is that the politics of hope and whoever builds rather than destroys can win in this parliament. That did not change, and I'm hopeful after that.
Would you agree with what you heard there? Does that convince you?
I think it's hopeful, the future of the parliament. I'm excited about this, but I found some things that I didn't like coming in the parliament. So, for example, we voted also for vice presidents, and they sent us the 17 names 1.5 hours before the elections. So how can you do a research for 17 names? But there is some inefficiencies here that I think we can improve.
No, I think that's why you have a group, so you have other people that do all that hard work for preparing you. And negotiating.
Groups tell you what to vote, and you are voting. So if you want to be an independent to think and see,
but as an independent, Isabella's right. You got to do all the work yourself.
Yes.
It's a hard slot.
And I'm willing, but we have independence, so they need to give us the time. They need to allow us to work if we want, right?
I think that's interesting because I spent a lot of time with the campaign listening to people saying things are going too slow in Brussels or in Strasbourg. Why are you not keeping up the pace? Let's move faster. But what I hear you say is actually that you think democracy would work better if maybe we slowed down a little bit and took some more time to think?
Especially this situation, maybe sometimes like 1.5 hours to research 17 names that will impact the parliament, I think is.
And just going back to Roberta Metsola, Isabella, is she the right woman for the job?
I wasn't there the last mandate, but what I've seen of her so far, she seems to be very skillful. She seems to have a lot of confidence in her own group, but also in all the other groups. She made a quite good impression when she came to our group to explain why she wanted to be re-elected as a president, and I think, yeah, she has a way of really showing the solidarity with the whole of the parliament, but also projecting some kind of vision and hope for better democracy, for the democratic work here to function better. And I think that's really important.
One man as well who was pleased to see her re-election was President Zelensky of Ukraine, because of course she was the first European leader to visit Ukraine after that full-scale invasion back in February 2022. But on that conclusion, we can close this conversation. Thank you so much to our MEP guests for being with us. We'll see you again soon. And thank you so much for watching.